Hey everybody, we're back today with Pete Baker. Pete is the president and founder of the Big Corp and CE Business Academy, and a international business development manager for many leading audio manufacturing firms across the world. Pete, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashish. It's great to be here, and hello, everybody. Really honored to have this opportunity to talk with you today. So thank you very much, Ashish.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Do you have a minute to just let us know about the Big Corp and CE Business Academy and a bit of what you're working on lately?
Yeah, I'd love to. So first of all, a little background on myself and my company. I've been in the industry, consumer electronics industry, and the CEDIA channel really for the past 30 years, actually a little more than that. I started as an integrator and worked as an integrator for many, many years, over 20 years, and eventually built up and sold my company. And my revenues were doubling every year until the day that I sold it. So
Wow.
I worked for many different integration companies over the course of that period, and had my company for maybe 5 or 6 years before I sold it. And I also was a licensed low voltage technician, so I went through the whole training process and certification process to be a licensed low voltage technician, and also programmed, installed, designed literally thousands of systems, and met with consumers, countless consumers over the course of that 20-year period. And eventually, when I sold my business, I went to work for a company called RTI, which you may have heard of, Remote
Yes.
Technologies Incorporated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was the VP of Sales and Marketing at RTI for 12 years, and I led the sales, marketing, tech support, customer service, training, product integration, all those different teams I led for 12 years. So I just had a fantastic group of people that I worked with on my team, and eventually left there in November, I think it was, or October of 2014. And I launched the Big Corp, Baker International Group, because I felt that there were a lot of companies like RTI when I first started there. Uh, they didn't have any international presence whatsoever. And by the time I left, the products were available in over 120 different countries. And I really enjoyed that. That's what I went to school for, was international business. And I felt that there was a lot of U.S. manufacturers that were very strong in the United States, but hadn't really expanded outside of the U.S. or North American borders. And they really need more than just sales representation, which is where the Big Corp comes in, because I focus on not only sales representation, but also marketing, business development, training and education, brand development, all of those different elements I get very involved in. And so the companies that I represent and work with, my clients like Savant and Near and Russ Sound, Nexus 21, just to name a few, those companies really welcome me in like I'm a member of the internal team.
I've seen that person.
And
Yeah, yeah. They
yeah,
really are well
so
recognized and well loved in all these companies. Yeah, it's really great.
yeah, thank you very much. So, and I really love those companies. I'm very, very passionate about the clients that I work with, and the products and brands that I represent. So,
That's important. That's great.
and as part of the Big Corp, I've always felt that education is really important. And I say that my role is to help people understand how they can sell and promote the benefits of the products that I represent.
Right,
Like if anybody wanted to know the benefits of Avenue Sound,
right.
you're the best person in the world to talk to about Avenue Sound.
Absolutely.
If somebody wants to know about Savant or Russ Sound or Nexus 21 or Near,
Right.
then I better be able to answer those questions and speak about the benefits.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the downsides, I would say, with a lot of salespeople like myself. We tend to focus on what's important to us, not what's important to the audience. And I
Right.
always focus on the benefits. Maybe it's because I started as an integrator and did that for so long. I always think about what the benefits are to the integrator with the brands and products that they sell.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more, Pete. I mean, that's really great to see
Thank you.
people passionate about their products. We kind of, have the same mentality here at Avenue Sound as well. I always discuss with my team that we should educate a customer and not just try and sell to them. At the end of the day, if the customer knows what they're buying and they understand what the benefits are of these products, it's much easier to help them understand this is why it makes sense to put it in your home or to make the purchase after all. I think
Yeah,
it's so key, and that's a really good point touched on. Yeah,
good.
great, great. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, Pete. So I think if we can discuss one of the major brands you work with, Savant.
Yes.
It's a really great automation brand. We've been working with it lately, and we're super thrilled with it. But I wanted to get some of your feedback on it as well. I think one of the first questions that would come to someone's mind is there are so many automation companies out there right now that are kind of setting the precedent, standing apart from other companies. What do you feel makes Savant stand apart from other home automation manufacturers in the world?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And again, I kind of revert back to benefits.
Yeah,
And so, what are the benefits to the integrator and also the end user customer in a platform like Savant? And so, there are a lot of great home automation brands out there,
yeah,
and they, I've always said I love to have good competition,
yeah,
and so we have good competition in that space. But I also believe that Savant has some really, really compelling with their platform. A few of those would be their dedication to innovation. Savant, as you've seen, Ashish, you've been at the Savant summits,
yes,
where it's just such a cool experience. If any of you have not been to a Savant Summit, I really encourage you to
yeah,
do it. It's something like I've never seen before, because
absolutely,
the representatives and the whole executive team from Savant really gets up on stage uh, for, depending on whether it's the US Summit or the International Summit, which we hosted for the first time this year in Amsterdam.
right,
They get up on stage and talk about all the new products and features that are coming in the year ahead, which I think is fantastic. I think it's important that we openly discuss that at the appropriate time with our dealer audience and channel partners, and also get their feedback, but let them know what's coming down the road. And one of the things that Bob Madonna, the founder of Savant, says frequently at those summits is that we are constantly trying to see around corners and
right,
see what's coming in the future, so that we can be ready and prepared and able to adapt to that new technology or new demands from the consumer. And we've seen so much of that from Savant over the past few years that I've been involved with Savant, with their dedication to innovation, with audio over IP, video over IP, video tiling, the True Image lighting platform, and their dedication to health and wellness and circadian rhythm.
yeah,
There's just so much. It's sometimes hard for me to keep up with it all
yeah,
because there's so much that is coming out. They're really prolific in coming out with just phenomenal innovation with Savant. So that's definitely a key benefit. I would say something that I really appreciate from Savant is I think that Savant was founded essentially by a consumer.
right,
Okay, so just a real brief background on Savant. Bob Madonna, the founder and CEO of Savant, was very comfortable with technology, loved technology, had a great technology company that he built up and sold,
right,
and he wanted to have some technology in his new home, which is a pretty large home.
right,
And so he put in one home automation platform, and he wasn't really delighted with that experience. So he pulled that out, put in another leading control system platform. He still wasn't happy with that. So he removed that
right.
and said, I'm just going to create my own home automation platform,
Wow,
which he did. And everybody thought he was crazy. And that was the launch of Savant in 2005. And so given that backdrop,
Right.
Savant really has always had a dedication to the customer experience and making sure that we deliver an exceptional and elevated customer experience. And so when we look at the user experience, we want to put some of that control in the hands of the end user, where they're able to customize that user interface or personalize that user interface,
Right.
add favorite channels, capture scenes, or one of the terms that's a little more familiar with our audience would be to create macros
Yeah.
on the fly. So if I'm listening to music in my office here, or I have the news on, I can quickly and easily capture that as a scene, and I can make that available from either a voice command or just from any of my user interfaces. I can recall that scene. So that personalization, and also being able to capture photos of the home. We're in the process of doing some redecorating or um, some enhancements to our home, as I think most people are during this
Yeah.
pandemic. When you're locked up at home,
Yeah.
my wife keeps saying we should paint that room and change that room and hang this light fixture. And so I've been very busy doing a lot of honey-do list items
Nice.
over the past couple months. And so when we redecorate those rooms, my wife can quickly capture a photo, take a new photo of that room, and it updates on all the user interfaces
Wow.
just by her updating that one image. So that's not just with my home, that's with any consumer's home. They're able to do that as well. So personalization, innovation, and I would say rapid deployment of the systems, I think, is also really, really key. I think, having met with dealers all over the world, I've again met with thousands of dealers because I always did all the international training for RTI.
Right.
And I also have, I traveled pretty extensively throughout the year, meeting with dealers and going to different markets around the world. And one of the things that I've discovered is that integrators generally have kind of a pinch point or a challenge in their business where they can't get enough really talented top level technicians or programmers.
Right.
And so you either need to find a way to train those technicians better and more quickly as an industry, need a way to deploy those systems more efficiently. And I think that's where Savant really, really excels, is the rapid deployment of their systems. So in my home, I have, a pretty extensive system in my home because I've been in the industry for so long.
Yeah.
And when I owned my integration company, I had my team wire up my house and put speakers throughout the house. So I have 18 zones of audio,
Wow.
plus a home theater, plus lighting control, plus climate control, plus door entry. So much going on in my house. And when I first deployed my first Savant system, it was in my home. And
Okay.
it took me 4 hours to deploy that system,
Wow.
where with a lot of other platforms, it would have taken me,
Wow.
days or weeks
Yeah.
to deploy that system. So those are some of the key benefits, I would say.
I have to say one of my favorite features of the Savant system is user profiles. I really like that option because it really, again, gives you a new sense of personalization for each user. You're not,
Yeah,
stuck with having one concurrent profile across the house. You have independent
I totally agree.
user.
Yeah, that's definitely a key benefit where each user in the home can have their favorite channels and they can have their scenes that they create. And it's just so simple and easy, and it all goes back to delivering an exceptional and elevated user experience.
Yep, I can't agree more.
Yeah.
And Pete, Savant's long been known as a leading innovation company. Um,
Yes.
so as home automation grows, and now we're beyond the original wow factor of, yeah, I can put my lights on from my cell phone. What are the new innovations and I guess customizations that Savant is gearing towards for their end users and dealers.
Yeah, well, that's something that I really admire about Savant, and I would say that as a rep, when I look at different brands that I might want to do work with,
Right.
or when different brands approach me, one of the first things that I look at would be their dedication to innovation. Did they just develop something once and then just kind of got comfortable? Which I think is a problem with a lot of businesses, that we get comfortable and don't continue to innovate or further develop our business. And I look at that every day with my business, and Savant definitely looks at that as well. And so there's a couple different areas that I can highlight where that kind of represent Savant's dedication to further developing their business and expanding and growing with their business and their product offering. So first of all, one would be the scope of projects that you're able to do with Savant. So we started out by working on Bob's house, which was like, a massive,
Yeah.
crazy, sophisticated project. And that's kind of where we establish ourselves as real high-end residential, the ultimate type of system for home automation and control. And once we really excelled at that and perfected that platform, then what Savant did is they came out. The analogy I like to use is the 7 Series Beamer. So they came out with the equivalent of a 7 Series Beamer for home automation.
Right.
Say after that, then they said, okay, what about a 5 Series, a 3 Series, and a 1 Series?
Yeah.
And so now Savant has just this year made some really, really impressive announcements and releases. So what they've done is they've taken their host, which is the brains of the system. Sometimes with different platforms, it's referred to as a central processor or controller or something like that. We refer to it.
Sorry to cut you off. I'm just going to share the screen really quick so everybody has a chance to see this.
Yeah.
It's on our website on our screen, and we'll talk. Just share the host as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So we're talking about Savant's new host here.
Yeah. So the new host. So what they've done is Savant has several hosts, as you know, Ashish, and some of those are just incredibly powerful. They're really mini computers that can run a massive project, like as big as you can imagine, as crazy as you can imagine. You want to go with that system.
Yeah.
Savant is able to do it, but they also have very affordable entry-level solutions, and that would be the S2 host. Right. And the S2 host is designed to be used in a single room solution, but you can add up to 4 rooms of audio, and you can also add some video distribution with that as well. And of course, lighting control and shading. And so now what we're doing is we're taking that S2 host and we're embedding it into some of our real popular products. For instance, the Smart Audio Soundbar is a great example of that. So now you can take a soundbar like you see actually behind me underneath my TV.
Right.
That's a Savant soundbar by Artisan. And now we've taken that S2 host and embedded it into the soundbar. Wow. And also added WiSA wireless technology. So now you have the ability in a retrofit situation where you cannot put any wires in the house. It's just buttoned up, or maybe it's a boardroom. You can take that Smart Audio soundbar and put it underneath a television or display device, and it has the controller or the host built in. It also has wireless technology, so if you want to add a subwoofer or you want to add some rear speakers, no problem. And it's a 3-channel soundbar. So that's one example. Another example would be our SIPA 1, which is just a phenomenal product. As you know, it's a a single room amplifier that's
Right.
125 watts per channel. It's just a
Amazing.
beast. And the analogy I use is years ago, I was in South Africa and I had the ability to pick up and hold a baby lion.
Yeah.
And that baby lion, from a distance, it looked like just a kitty cat,
Yeah.
a regular old kitty cat. But I pick it up and it's just solid. It's just a beast, and I would say the same is true with that SIPA one. It it doesn't look intimidating because
Yeah.
it's a relatively small form factor, but it is a beast. It has a 125 watt per channel amplifier built in, and an S2 host, and it has Savant Music, so a full streaming package built into it.
Yeah.
So those are some examples of the ways that Savant is expanding their product offering to cater to entry level projects where somebody maybe is intimidated about technology. I just wrote an article. I write articles all the time for industry publications
Oh, great.
around the world. And the latest one I wrote is introducing technology to baby boomers.
Right.
And ironically, I just had a conversation with my daughter this morning, who's she'll be 23 this week, and she saw that article and said, "Dad, you're a baby boomer." So, and I said, "Well, I know I'm a baby boomer, but I still struggle with some technology as well, like YouTube and Vimeo,
Yeah.
some of these social media platforms. I don't use every day, and a lot of baby boomers out there are intimidated by technology. It's a reality that I don't think a lot of us in the consumer electronics industry take seriously enough.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a serious concern. And so with these new smart audio products, the SIPA One and the Smart Audio Soundbar, it's a way to gently introduce home automation or smart home technology to somebody on a tight budget, or maybe a baby boomer, where you can start by just saying, look, let's take all these remote controls
Yeah.
and put it into one really intuitive user interface. And I promise you that this is going to be a much better experience for you to operate and access the technology, like Apple TV or your satellite dish or cable TV,
Absolutely.
and maybe some other elements. And once they get comfortable with that, you can say, hey, how about if we tie in your lights so that when you're
Yeah.
sitting down with your family or your wife and you're watching TV and you want to turn the lights down a little, you can do that from the comfort of your couch
Right.
just by accessing it on your remote control. Let's start with one light bulb. And if you like that, we can add more real easily. So to answer your question, Ashish, that's how they're expanding on the audience for the Savant home automation solutions, but they're also going deeper and offering more solutions to the integrator when they're in a project.
Right.
So when you're in a project, obviously the core of that system is probably some type of smart home technology,
Sure.
and but you might want to also offer further elements. Maybe you want to offer shading, or you want to offer lighting control, or you want to offer video distribution or audio distribution, something like that.
Yeah.
There's obviously been a perimeter breach, so my dogs are going a little crazy. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No problem.
So Savant is always looking for ways that we can do more in that project and help the integrator to offer more to that end user customer in that project. And great examples would be with lighting controls. So
Yeah.
Savant didn't want to just develop their own lighting control solutions. They
Right.
wanted to make sure that they had the best in class lighting control solutions. And so what they did is, years ago, they purchased a company called Light Touch.
Okay.
And many people in India may not have heard of Light Touch,
Yeah.
but Light Touch in Minnesota, where I live, Light Touch was the #1 lighting control solution when I was an integrator. All the integrators in town use Light Touch.
Okay.
It by far had more market share than Lutron or Vantage or a lot of other brands out there. And so they acquired Light Touch. They purchased the company years ago so that they could offer world-class solutions in lighting control. Then they further developed that platform as well with the Savant True Image Lighting
Right.
platform, which is exceptionally cool. It's really one of the coolest things
It
I've
is.
seen in the industry.
Yeah.
And I would encourage people to go to my website, um, or just my website is thebigcorp.com. Go to resources and then Savant, and you can see examples of the whole Savant user experience, including True Image. You can also Google True Image to see what that is all about. Um, but that's an example with lighting control, and Savant has done that with a lot of other elements. Energy management, for example, when Savant decided that they wanted to really focus on energy management
Yeah.
solutions, they didn't just um, steer some of the existing team to work on energy management. Obviously, there are people in the Savant team that are involved in energy management, but Bob created a whole different company and invested in leadership and a full team in a company called Race Point Energy,
Yeah.
totally focused on energy management solutions. And so when we look at these elements, and again, shading is another category where we engaged with Jay Geiger to develop really world class shading solutions
Right.
by working with Jay Geiger, getting feedback from integrators out there. What do you like or don't like about shading solutions right now? And we really rely so heavily on feedback from our channel partners.
Yeah.
That's why we have the largest beta team in the home automation category. So if anyone is a Savant dealer and they want to become a Savant beta tester, it's just as easy as once you're in your Savant portal login, you check the box that says, I want to be a Savant beta tester.
Nice.
And I'm a Savant beta tester. And the nice thing about being a Savant beta tester is, since I've become a Savant beta tester, I've been able to enjoy all the new features and enhancements that are coming long before the release. So we just released 9.3. I've been playing with the 9.3 features for months
Wow. Okay.
and testing it and giving feedback to Savant. And also another example is if you're a Savant beta tester, you can have free access to the Savant Home app experience.
Okay.
So that's an app that is loaded into Apple TV that allows you to control your entire Savant ecosystem or control experience
Right.
from an on-screen experience. It's super cool. And if you're a Savant beta tester, you can have that app for free.
That's great.
So I would encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds really interesting. We got all signed up for that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Great
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that,
Um,
Ashish?
no, I think you were able to cover most of the answers there, Pete. I appreciate it. Yeah, that would give a lot of insight on what some of
Okay,
the
good.
with and sort of new innovations that are coming out. It all sounds very interesting. We can't wait to work with it. I did have a question on do it yourself now, DIY, because that's becoming very popular in the home automation sector. So how much of Savant is DIY and how much is it really integrator dependent? And how is Savant making it easier for Savant dealers to make the integration process easier and more efficient when they're doing the Savant installations?
Yeah, great question. So Savant is dedicated to the integrator channel.
Right.
So our products are sold through professional integrators. So we don't really have any direct to consumer type products. Maybe the Savant True Image bulbs would be an example where a consumer could potentially have those True Image light bulbs, but that's about it. Everything everything is really designed to be sold through professional integrators and deployed by a professional integrator.
Right.
We, we tried that several years ago, and it was a complete disaster. And so we shut that whole thing down. And Bob actually came back as CEO, redirected the company, and restated his commitment to work directly with professional integrators. However, we do certainly respect the fact that consumers don't necessarily want to be handcuffed to their integrator for every single thing. I was an integrator, like I said, for 20 years, and and there were often times where a consumer would say, I want to add a favorite channel.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I've got to send a technician out there. We're really busy this week, but we should be able to get out there next week to do it. And they'd be like, really? You need to send somebody out here just to do that? And it gets a little cumbersome to try and schedule that. And especially since it's a lot of times not something the integrator is going to charge for if they're just adding like a favorite channel, then and it's an unnecessary expense as well for the integrator. With Savant, we make it very easy for the end user customer to add favorite channels or to add scenes and to customize that user interface. And then there's of course great videos like we have on our website, and integrators can also have similar videos on their website as well that they could direct that consumer to show them exactly how to create a scene, and it's like a 3-minute video. So and also very easy to just talk them through that on the phone or do a FaceTime call, something like that. So we do respect the fact that the consumer needs, it's their system, and they need to have some ability to customize or personalize that experience. And but yet the initial deployment has to be done by an integrator.
Right.
We also make it very easy if that customer says something's not working right in the system, they can give access to that integrator or another integrator. Or if you come to stay at my house, Ashish, which you're more than welcome to do, come to Minnesota, I can give you guest access to control my system, and I can determine quickly and easily what elements you might have access to. Maybe I give you access to music in the guest area, but not in my office, for instance. And maybe you have access to lighting in your in the guest room and guest bathroom and so forth, and the media room downstairs, but not to climate control. And not security cameras or things like that. And then once you leave, I can remove that access. So, and also if an integrator goes out of business or something like that, and someone else needs to take over the project, that can be done as well. So,
and in terms of privacy, if a customer is worried about, integrator accessing their system without their knowledge, they have the option to actually allow or disallow whether they want anyone to access or not.
Yes, so they have to approve anyone who has access to their system.
That's
the
great.
Consumer is put in control of that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And the consumer also can give that installer access to remotely troubleshoot that system as well through SCM, Savant Central Management System as well. So that integrator can actually look into that system and see what's going on, make updates to the system if they need to, which I think is really cool. I think that it's really long overdue that the industry as a whole hasn't provided more tools to the integrator to remotely troubleshoot systems and remotely update systems. And so that's a really cool development with Savant, and something that we've invested very, very heavily in. We've always had those tools for the internal tech support team at Savant, but now we've rolled that out and given those tools to the integrators as well.
We're really appreciative because, to send someone out there all the time do a truck roll basically, is not always possible, and not time sensitive sometimes for the end user. And in these the new normal, it's not always a good idea to send someone out there to someone's house, and they may be worried about at this point you know um, COVID-19 or anything like that. So it's a good idea to be able to remotely troubleshoot and solve. And I think for the most part we're able to solve a lot of our problems remotely. um,
Yes,
yeah,
very important.
I was talking to my son, and I said, he asked me, so how come you can't go back to work yet? And I said, because it's the government really doesn't want us to be able to to be in touch with each other, and we don't want to spread any transmission to anybody, or we want to keep it to ourselves right now and social distance. And I was just saying that maybe one day we can invent robots that allow us to go out there and do the work for us and control them.
Right.
So I figure AI and all these things are on their way, hopefully. So we can hopefully one day start remotely really troubleshooting even the physical installs.
Yes.
And remote, over the.
It's very, very important. And I've seen some developments in that regard, and actually worked with a company years ago that unfortunately went out of business because
Yeah.
it's hard to it's hard to change our habits. And the company that I was working with had a little box that you'd put in the system, and it would allow you to tunnel into that system
Oh,
and see what's going on and see all the connected devices. But it just was hard to get frankly, the integrator audience to
yeah.
understand that how to sell that to their customers with a
Yeah.
recurring revenue model.
Right.
And I believe in that. I believe that integrators should be looking at a recurring revenue model, and Savant does have something that supports that with our Service Plus hosts, where
Okay.
you can add a 5-year warranty, extended warranty on the host. You'll also get all major updates for free. So just like with well, I use QuickBooks in my business.
Right.
Okay. And so with QuickBooks, if there's dot updates, like let's say I'm on version 10, I don't know what version I'm on, but let's just say it's version 10 with QuickBooks.
Right.
10.1, 10.2, 10.3, those are usually free. But if I go to version 11, QuickBooks is going to charge me to upgrade to version 11. And the same is true with Savant, where all those dot updates, we're on 9.3. So we just had 9.1, 9.2, 9.3.
Right.
We give those out for free. And there's so many updates and enhancements packed into those. We'll be doing a webinar, I think it's actually tomorrow.
Okay.
On and if any of you are Savant dealers, you can look at the Savant website or contact Ashish, and I can send you the information on that. Ashish, did you just get my newsletter?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So the details are there.
Sure.
On the 9.3 release. So that release webinar is scheduled to run an hour and a half.
Wow.
And that's just talking about all the new features and updates and enhancements that are included in 9.3. So those are free, but once we get to 10, there'd be a charge for that. But if you have a Service Plus host, there's no charge for 5 years, and it's a 5-year warranty. And if I was an integrator, every single one of my projects would have a Service Plus host,
right,
with that extended warranty. And then I would also talk to my consumer and say, look, you're going to have problems with your system. Anybody that sells you a home automation system and says that you're never going to run into an issue with a firmware update, and I'm not just talking about with the home automation platform, I'm talking about all the connected devices, whether it's Apple TV or Roku or cable boxes, satellite dishes, all that stuff. They all have firmware updates, and they all have network connections and Wi-Fi issues and things like that, where they need to be reset or reboot. And that's just part of our life. And so I think you're talking with a consumer about their system, say, look, these are sophisticated components, and you will run into some issues where something locks up or needs a firmware update or needs to be rebooted.
Right.
And so we have this Service Plus, uh, service program that we offer you for $20 a month, or $50 a month, or $100 a month,
Right.
something like that, probably depending on the sophistication of the system as well. And with that, you could have free, X amount of free service calls. Maybe you have a 24-hour hotline where you can get a hold of somebody, or extended hours or something like that. There's a lot of things that you can do to create a recurring revenue model. And so I think with that previous brand, Krika, they were kind of ahead of their time. But
Yeah.
Savant now has really looked at that very, very seriously with their Savant central management system, and also the Service Plus hosts, and looking at ways that we can, create a very comprehensive service offering and experience, and help put the power in the hands of the integrator to create a nice recurring revenue model.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, that'd be a nice addition.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So Pete, you have a Savant system set up at your house, right?
I do have a Savant system. Yes.
That's great. Do you think you could walk us through kind of what a day in living with the Savant system is like in your home? Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, in my home, I've always loved technology. I've always been kind of a technology geek, and I installed and programmed my whole system. I have a full 6-foot rack of Middle Atlantic, 6-foot Middle Atlantic rack with equipment in my system. And honestly, when I switched over to Savant, I used to have 2 6-foot tall racks. But once I switched to Savant, because of the way that the Savant system works, it didn't require as much rack space.
Yeah.
Previously I was using independent audio switcher and independent 12-channel amplifiers, and then an independent streaming solution. And so now with Savant, all of that is integrated into the SIPA 50s is what we call them, or the 4-zone 50-watt per channel
Nice.
Distributed audio products from Savant. And so I have 4 of those in my rack. Each one of those has a stream of Savant music. So I have those labeled in my house as house stream, Pete stream, guest stream, and then master suite stream. But you could label them his, hers, kids, however you want to do it. And then each one of those SIPA 50s also has control ports built in for IR control, RS-232, and so forth. And then obviously the amplifiers, but there's also 2 additional pre-out zones. So I also represent NEAR, New England Audio Research.
Right.
And so I have, I forget how many, maybe 10 pair of speakers in my outdoor area. We have a pretty large property. It's an acre lot that we for our property.
That's
so
great.
I have a lot of speakers outside and we spend a lot of time outside. And for those speakers, I power those with a 70-watt amplifier with DSP digital signal processing as well. So each one of those SIPA 50s has 4 powered zones, but also 2 passive zones. And then they have digital and analog inputs as well. So some of the things that I enjoy with my system is, when I first get up in the morning, I'll turn on the news. So I just select the scene that says big news. And then that turns on the news in my family room and also in my office as well, because I work from home.
Yeah.
And then when I'll have a cup of coffee, I'll, listen to the news, check some emails, some of that stuff, maybe I have some WhatsApp messages with you and maybe
Yeah.
some other industry friends and family members. And then once I get to my office, I grew up in the Bahamas, so I'm
Oh,
a
wow.
Caribbean kid at heart.
Really? Wow.
Uh, yeah, so I grew up, living around the beach and in the Caribbean, and still have dual citizenship
Oh,
in the
that's great.
Bahamas and the U.S. Uh, and so when I get into my office, I choose big beach time, and then I
Okay.
listen to Jimmy Buffett and Jack Johnson and music like that that just kind of eases me into my day.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I push the good night button, and that shuts everything off. And then different members of my family also have their scenes that they like to enjoy. Maybe pool time because we have a pool by our house, or bath time. They select one of those, and different music and scenes, also lighting control, come into play as well. So once you create a scene, that can incorporate so many different elements, whether it's lighting control and shading and music and video distribution. All of those different elements can be included or excluded, and it also can be by user.
Right.
So I might have those scenes for big beach time or big news, but
Yeah.
other users in the household, they don't need those because and golf as well. I love golf. So I have,
Nice.
a golf scene, and that'll turn on the golf channel in certain areas of the house.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So I love the scene capability with Savant. I also love the Savant Music platform.
Yeah.
That was really such a bold move by Savant years ago to, um, previously they had a third party streaming platform incorporated into their products.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, they just decided that they didn't have full control of that streaming platform. And so they took a bold move and a bold decision
Yeah.
to move away from that and create their own streaming platform with Savant Music. And it's really, really exceptional. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. It supports AirPlay, supports most of the most popular streaming platforms.
Yeah.
If a streaming platform isn't supported, you can pull it up on your Apple device and stream it from that.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. I listen to music all day long. So except for when I'm doing a podcast.
That's great. That's great. That's really good to hear. Yeah. I mean, you're making
Yeah,
use of the system. I'm really,
I think my video might have stopped.
yeah. Yeah. I just think it just went off for a second there. Yeah. There you go. You're
Okay.
back. Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little temperamental.
Yeah.
Good.
Great stuff, Pete. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all this valuable information with us about Savant, and
You're very welcome.
yeah, it really is an amazing system. Out of experience, I can say using it that we've had such a great experience with it. It stands apart from the other systems we work with the features, and that's something that we try and really explain to consumers is that there's a lot of features that are innovative technologies that are coming up with Savant that are not available in a lot of other automation systems in the market currently. So, thank you, Savant, for building such a great product, and Pete, thank you for joining us today and discussing about all the amazing features that Savant has.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, Ashish. I'm sorry we're having some video
Oh,
issues
that's all right. That's all right, Pete. Yeah,
here.
yeah,
But thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure for me to talk with you. I just have so much respect and admiration for you. You're such a great guy, and
oh, thanks, yes.
really one of the guys that I respect the most in the industry.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it's just
That means a lot. And same.
really, really happy to support you with this initiative. I think it's a fantastic initiative that you're involved in when people are staying at home to offer them, opportunities like this uh, to hear some feedback from other people in the industry. I know that you've had Chris Kane, who's another fantastic guy and a good
Yeah,
friend of mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really appreciate you reaching out to me with this opportunity. And please check out savant.com, also thebigcorp.com. There's a lot of great training and educational materials there on my website. Obviously, all of those little 3-minute videos from Savant on um, how to use the Savant platform, how to create scenes, how to customize that or personalize that experience for the consumer. So check that out
Definitely.
on my website at thebigcorp.com, and then resources and Savant.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Pete. I hope everyone does check out Big Corp. There's a lot of valuable information there. Do check out savant.com and reach out to either Pete or myself if you have any questions. Thank you very much again, Pete. Have an awesome day, rest of your Monday, and
Thank you. You too.
soon. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Cheers.
Take care. Thank you so much, Pete.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye bye.